So a testimonial to Richard Nicholas Ferry, and you have to use the full name because all you ever got when he answered the phone was Ferry, and then the conversation began. And you've got to remember that these conversations on phones were before mobiles, before faxes, before emails, but it meant we could get a lot done. It always fell to Ferry to look after Mooney, as in Tony. So Carmichael would ring me with an idea, I'd ring Jacko would ring Ferry, we'd get in an office, we'd make the decision, and you know what? The town went ahead. And the best part about that little group was that we all did it because all we wanted was Townsville to be better. And we knew our businesses would go better if Townsville went better. So Richard, thanks for all those fun years and for what we managed to do. Good luck with the next chapter, and I really hope that you're as busy as me because there's no way now I could fit work in. Good luck, mate.
When Richard came here in the early 70s, he was with Dalgety. It didn't take him long to turn the rural side of Dalgety property into an urban side. Townsville was flying at the time, and he was making the most of it. And in the end he thought, well, perhaps I should go out on my own, which he did, and with a lot of trepidation and a lot of soul searching, but he made the move. He had a new wife, a young family, was doing a degree in economics at JCU, so he was a pretty busy boy at the time. But he, and of course the real estate industry that he went into in Townsville was very tightly controlled, very tightly held by long-term reputable people in the industry. So he had an uphill battle at the beginning. But with his ability and his tenaciousness and gift of the gab, he made it. And he became very quickly the preeminent real estate agent in town, a position which he continued to hold for the next 40 years. He was heavily involved in the community, heavily involved in raising funds to develop some of the most iconic developments that have taken place, community developments that have taken place in Townsville over that time. I was thinking about a trip that Richard and I had to Mackay, and we were on the way back and Richard was driving, or perhaps I could better describe it as late flying, and the cops got us and they booked him for 160 kilometres an hour in a 100 kilometre zone. I'd been sitting in the passenger seat and was able to see the speedo, and my advice to him when the police went was pay up and shut up, because if they knew what speed you were doing, you might be in Stewart Creek. So Rich thought about that bit of advice, and as is usual with legal advice I gave him, he ignored it and went off to a better lawyer who wasn't sitting in the car at the time, and decided to defend it in court, and amazingly got off. His description of the event was pure classic Richard Ferry, and I could give you the details, but in the interests of my marriage I can't. So now he's retired, and he's managed to find himself a little Ponderosa out of town, and is able to go back to his first love, his rural love. And so he'll be spending his remaining years pottering about down there, raising cows, raising horses and houses and petrol stations and shops and shopping centres, and ultimately he hopes a golf course. Good luck, Richard.
G'day, Richard. It's really great on this very public occasion to be able to give you a great thank you for all that you've done for this town, our community, for well over a generation. It's been amazing. You'll be one of the few people to stand up when it counted. We were able to round up some great support for all the big initiatives, the big programs, everything that helped transform Townsville. So thank you so much for that. Thanks also for all the great advice you gave me on what needed to be done around Townsville. You really helped me a great lot. Thanks also for being so positive about Townsville when the going got really tough all those years ago. We had to go up a few dry gullies, but I think we did some great things, and that was due in no small part to your passion and your commitment. And no one can ever doubt that your heart is really in Townsville. And by the way, Richard, keep up these great Melbourne Cup functions, mate. They're the best in town. All the best.
Hi mate, JG. I have no hesitation in saying that your retirement marks the end of a career of one of the most colourful and influential characters ever to grace the stage in North Queensland real estate. Ferry Property was an iconic institution for so many years, and I'm extremely proud to be able to say that I was part of that institution and part of the Ferry family for the best part of 20 odd years. When I reflect back on our time together, I find it hard to get the grin off my face. It was something very special. We worked hard, we were successful, but hell, we had a lot of fun in the meantime. It beats me how we never stood in front of that firing squad more than once. Mate, I wish you all the very best in your retirement, and I sincerely hope that life after real estate brings something very special to both you and Alison. Again, I just want to say thank you very much for the opportunity to be part of the Ferry family, which without doubt was the highlight of my working career. Mate, all the best, take care and stay safe.
I began with Richard and Jeff Pascoe in 1988. It was a learning curve from day one, never a dull moment. There are 3 decades of good memories and good times. Richard has an innate ability of gathering the troops and creating a culture that says, yes, that's a place where I want to go and work in. There are many attributes that describe Richard Ferry, the person. If there's one that I had to choose and say it's at the top of the list, I would say it's his generosity. Over the years, there were countless examples of spontaneous generosity towards individuals and the community. Always in a good mood, his trademark laugh can be heard in any crowd. He's a work colleague, a partner and a friend. Today's tribute is about his retirement. I can tell you, you don't retire a mind like Richard Ferry. I think it's more about more holidays. Notwithstanding, I wish Richard and Alison all the very best in the next chapter of their journey together. Thanks.
I first met Richard in 1985, shortly after I joined PW from the ATO. Richard was interested in my work at the ATO very early on, and a match was made from day one. It's fair to say that Richard has been a great personal and business mentor of mine from day one. In fact, even today, my personal network owes a lot to the work I've done with Richard over the years, so thank you for that, mate. Richard introduced me to Jeff Pascoe, so I've had the great fortune of a front row seat at what I consider to be one of the best business partnerships this city's ever seen. So thanks again for that as well. Richard's always been fun to work with in the literal sense of the word. There's always a good time not far around the corner when you're doing stuff with Richard. A lot of instances come to mind, but one in particular was a trip to Melbourne in the early 90s on behalf of our mutual client Ming Kong Chan. We had a ball, but not so much the Victorian accountant who ended up in jail as a result of our trip. Richard's vision for himself, for the city, for his clients, his friends and networks has always been amazing. I think it's fair to say that a lot of people, if not all of the people in this room today, have been the beneficiaries and are much richer for the vision of Richard Ferry. All the best, mate, for the future, for you and Alison. And I hope you put it to good use, and I'm very much looking forward to the first volume of the memoirs. Cheers.
30 years of memories, but this one always comes to mind. It was 1987, I was pregnant with my second child, and I and a few other Ferry staff members were flown in what seemed like a sardine can with wings and a propeller out to Greenvale to work at a Queensland nickel auction. Well, if I thought that was a hairy flight, it was nothing compared to the drive home in the back of Richard's car. If any of you have driven with Richard, you'll know where I'm coming from. I was sure on that day in that back seat I was going to give birth. Great boss, great human being, but not such a great driver. Love you, Richard. Happy retirement.
Well, I've known Richard for a long while. I remember when he first started in business in Townsville, and I remember when he sold our third home, and that was a pretty exciting thing for me in those days. It was about £17,000 worth. Today it's worth $750,000. How things change over a period of time, but that was some 40 odd years ago, nearly 50 years ago. And then he did the great thing and sold our home on the river about 20 years ago. And he was very successful in achieving a record price there for that at the time, and he was a very popular man in our family, as he was with most families in Townsville, because he had an exceptional record. Hard to imagine how a young guy like at his age retires, but then this is what happens in life today. And I know he'll love spending more time on the island, what he's doing. He really has become an island guy. And I hope he's not going to spend his weekend selling real estate on the island. I'd rather him retiring and enjoying life. Good luck, Richard.
Surprise! Hi Richard, this is your personal royal gynecologist wishing you the very best on your retirement. I think it's the most sensible decision you ever made in your life. As you know, we've been good friends for a long time, and I wish Alison and yourself the very, very best. Paul and I send our love. We believe that with your retirement you'll have more parties and a more sedate life. I won't get phone calls in the middle of the night with leg injuries and funny things like that. However, jokes aside, Richard, the community loves you, the town loves you, we love you. And Paula and I send our warm wishes to your entire family, and we wish you the very, very best. Hope to catch up soon. Bye!